Caution, content's hot. 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 You got to give me all you got. Caution, content's hot.
You got to give me all you got. Caution, content's hot. You got to give me all you got. Caution, content's hot. You got to give me all you got. Caution, content's hot. You got to give me all you got.
Smite Draft League! It's time for Season 3 to get going! And what better way to start than with Godlike Division and Draft Day? My name is Anthony Malum, and tonight I'm joined by King Fisher and Nooblet. We pushing our buttons, and King Fisher, it's time for the season to go.
It is excited to get into it. It's going to be a good league. We got a lot of new players in here, so hopefully we're going to see a lot of new faces in this godlike draft. 8 good teams, and hopefully 8 teams that are all ready to wrestle that title away from the Sunbreakers. Can't have another dynasty now.
Yeah, Sunbreakers took everything, and to counter that, we had to bring in new team names just to try to change up the flow. So let's meet these teams. From left to right, I'll read them out. Read with me. Let's start and let's look at Seismic Shockwaves, representing Geb, everyone's favorite rockbound god. Kingslayers, Flourish, Eclipse, all coming back, as well as Sunbreakers and Wild Inferno, here to stay. Another new one, Stormcallers, and finally, one of the OG names, Dark Omen. I'm in love with the new team names. I think the thing I'm most excited for, though, Fisher, is the draft itself.
Hard not to be excited for it. It's going to be really interesting. And I really want to see. We got Seismic Shockwaves up first. First pick is going to be really important. New team, new season. You really want to start it off strong.
You do, and the captain of Seismic Shockwaves, Sevent, is ready to kick us off. The first pick is always a tough one, and Godlike is the toughest division. Fisher, do you have any preliminary guesses? Anything you want to toss out there, or are you ready to be shocked?
I don't know. With all the new players and not seeing a ton of playtime from them, it's tough to tell what these captains have seen in the scouting grounds. The most I would guess would be a role. If it was me, I'd go frontline first. Really interested to see, though, what 7 is going to really prioritize here.
Well, it's time to find out. Last season, it was Rat Milk as the number 1 pick. This season, Seismic Shockwave select number 1 overall, Stylus! They got the front line you were talking about, Kingfisher. Rockin' Stylus and SDL OG.
They did. Played last year, played a lot of games last year. And going back to the solo lane this season, I believe, kind of flip-flopped around last year. We saw them in the duo lane a little bit as an ADC. I love them in solo. They got a really, really great god pool. And, I mean, not to pat myself on the back, but we called it. It's going to be the front line first. You love to see that. If you're any backline, you're really hoping you get on Stylus' team.
Next up, Kingslayers, with one of my favorite jerseys. I mean, I love all of them, but Kingslayers definitely hits home. Jabber, who was another champion from last season, another Sunbreakers dominance piece. Who will Jabber select? That person will be Emoji Daddy! or emoticon father if you're nasty. Kingfisher, talk me through our favorite emote parental unit.
Glad to see them back on a team with Jabber, was another former champion there from Season 2. Neither of them going to be back on Sunbreakers, but a great mid laner and a really, really huge god pool, which is something I feel like we touch on with mid lane a lot more than other roles, but it just can do so much for your team comp when you have somebody like Emoji Daddy who can really play anything in this game and play it pretty damn good.
That's huge. And emoticon father was somebody who, in the crazy end that we had, it goes so easily forgotten how clutch those last moments were during the final Titan Siege. The Yu Huang gameplay was something to stick out in brains. Next up, Flourish. Chubby Ostrich, the captain. And who does Flourish select? Well, none other than Iba was taken. Kingfisher, Iba's making it into Godlike for Season 3. And in the first round, no less, talk to me about everybody's most talked about jungler.
One way to put it. Iba was a little bit of a fan favorite there in Season 2. I know we certainly got to talk about them a lot, moved around from team to team, finally found a home, went all the way to the championships for Immortal. And being top picked or top 3 in Godlike, that's no small feat, especially considering they were Immortal last season. Utterly dominant. I feel like we've talked about them so many times on this channel, and every time we do, it's just good things. Really excited to see what they're going to be able to do there with Chubby Ostrich.
Next up, we have Eclipse, who is making the move from being represented by Tsukuyomi to being represented by Owelix, as you can see by Suku going crazy. Remarkable Wolf is at the head, and who does Remarkable Wolf pick for number 4? That person is Stages! Fisher, Stages is a name new to the stage for Godlike.
They are. I think they've competed in SOC normally a mid laner, so I think Remarkable doing a really smart thing there, picking up a fellow backliner, making sure, because we already know the Rama's going to be pretty prominent there on Eclipse. Remarkable Wolf probably looking to pilot that ADC role for themselves, getting themselves a reliable partner, someone they know they can do damage with, I think is a really strong start for that team, and kind of makes sense with who their captain is.
I think a big thing for Wolf is going to be comfort in needing to have a team that's comfortable making that jump up, like we talked about. It's got to be a team that Wolf feels like he can kind of fight in the trenches with. That's the mindset, and that's what I expect to see. Sunbreakers! Boy, do they not need an introduction. They are looking to continue dominance. This team is captained by a Garrett, and Garrett selects, with pick number 5, Thy Coaster, another new name to the SDL, Kingfisher. They're going to keep coming in.
They are. I'm expecting to see a lot of them here in this draft. I believe Coaster is normally a jungle player, loves prioritizing the team XP, so I'd really be looking for a lot of ganks, trying to get their team ahead, not really worrying about falling behind themselves. Has some strong picks as well. I think particularly the Neja they play incredibly well. Neja already a strong pick this season, gonna need a lot more ban time if you're going against the Sunbreakers.
Speaking of ban time, ban the Ganesh if you are a teammate of this captain, just for your own safety. The bread boy, Digits, is the captain of Wild Inferno. And with pick number 6, Digits selects another SDL OG, Taka! Oh, Fisher, Taka is a name you and I have been casting since the inception of SDL, it feels like. And Taka is a multi-rolled, multifaceted player who is kind of just nasty no matter where they go.
Pretty much. They bounced around a little bit in the playoff run of last season. We saw them in support a little, but with Digits on that team, obviously one of the strongest supports of last year, ended up winning it with Sunbreakers. I'd love to see Taka go back to that solo lane. I think they look incredible there, very dominant, an insanely strong laning phase. I think just like I said with Eclipse, how Remarkable Wolf got themselves a mid laner to go along, now you have 2 incredibly strong frontliners there on the side of Wild Inferno.
Next up, we've got our newest team name, Stormcallers, led by Storm, representing Chalk, and a disgustingly good uniform. By the way, the jersey goes insane. I think that might be my favorite jersey. And who does Storm select at number 7, you might ask? Well, let's keep it up with the SDL OGs with Lycon!
Another very strong pick there. So far, the top round is going a really good way. Lycon, jungle, carry, played last season as well. And some really, really strong picks out of that jungle. Things like the Susano, the Mercury, the Loki, which you don't normally think of a lot. All extremely strong in the hands of Lycon. I think all of us wanted to see them have a little bit of a deeper playoff run last season, but hopefully looking to turn that around and head into Season 3 strong.
Certainly, certainly. Now, when we talk about SDL OGs, you cannot go deeper than the combination of Power, ST2, and Dark Omen. And you might be thinking, well, Taka's gone. So, Stylus is gone. What does that leave for Power ST2? Hailing from Olympus, I have an answer. Band of Amana. It's Snoozeism. Fisher talked to me about not just of Amana, but Snoozeism's disgusting solo lane that we saw throughout the Godlike playoffs in Season 2.
You were right when you said Band of Amana. It has to be Band. Snoozeism, I'd argue, synonymous with that pick at this point here in the SDL. Like you said, it's just pressure from that solo lane. There were some games you're watching where you think they have like 2 or 3 junglers running around. It's just their solo laner because he's rotating out at 8 minutes into the game like you've never seen before. Insane pressure, brings a lot to the team. Really excited to see what they're going to be able to do with their former teammate as well.
That is also a massive impact of it. And hey, we're not done because Dark Omen, they get the wraparound. And with number 9, Power selects Swagga. Keep it going, Fish. Give me the info on Swagga.
Swagga, another really strong jungler we saw from the last year, has some good picks as well. The Susano, you love to see stuff like Fenrir, Nemesis, maybe a little bit more kind of not really bad picks, but a lot deeper down into the God pool. Things we don't see so often, combined with Snoozeism, with Power. That Dark Omen team, it's almost looking as scary as it was back in Season 2. Really, I think that's one of the best starts we've seen so far, and already a ton of chemistry built into that roster.
That's going to be a big name of the game. I mean, Godlike, I think the key is going to be people not just that you can schedule with and play comfortable with, but really just get that synergy with, because we always talk about you get to the skill ceiling, what can you do to break through it and to differentiate yourself? And it's always the team. That's the answer. Stormcallers looking for their answer at number 10. Storm selects Dragoon. That is another player who we did not get to see enough of last season, and I hope to see tons more of on the Stormcallers, Fisher.
Absolutely, any SDL veteran gonna know the name Dragoon. Like you said, maybe cut a little bit short last season, but an incredibly strong ADC, and even without all that airtime from the last year, getting picked up that high is pretty solid, going along with Lycon and the captain. Another very, very strong pick, taking an ADC and a jungler early on. I'm sure a lot of these teams not really gonna get ready for the damage that Stormcallers are gonna be able to bring with those top 2.
Damage, and more damage. Let's do some damage control and continue on this draft with Wild Inferno Digits. With the next selection, who is it, you might ask? Lycan goes to Wild Inferno. Welcome to the team, and Fisher, talk me through Lycan, not to be confused with Lycon. I'm kind of happy they're on the same team, selfishly, as a caster.
That would just make so many mix-ups. Kind of on the same trend as you there. I would not like to cast those two on the same roster. But Lycan, a very, very good mid player, in their own words, really likes playing kind of the artillery mages, stuff like Agni, stuff like Thoth, dump damage from far away. Gonna be able to do that with Digits and Taka on the team. As smart as I think a mid pick is right now, you love having a good mid laner. We see last season it can absolutely make or break games, but getting one like that can play together so well with the space that those two create puts Wild Inferno in a really, really good spot in their top 3.
Sunbreakers, we keep talking about it. They are a team that, just by the name alone, draft leagues, the teams might reset, but the team names keep the history, and Sunbreakers has a lot to live up to. And at number 12, who is Garrett bringing in to help out? It's none other than Sandman Samuel! Another SDL OG. We're continuing the streak, and Sandman Sam, this is multiple seasons in a row where I know blood is on the mind.
Absolutely. Sandman Sam, Salmon Sam, whatever you want to call him, it's still Sam, are running stuff down. Had a solid season last year, did get into the playoffs as well, but not able to get to that championship as I'm sure they would have liked to. But they're on Sunbreakers. I think that almost guarantees them a spot in the championship at this point. So Sandman Sam probably thankful they're going to be playing under that team name this year. With those other two, going to be really interesting to see the team comps they can bring out. That diverse god pool always comes to mind when you think of Sandman Sam.
Back on the clock, Eclipse and Remarkable Wolf, the ADC for Eclipse. They're looking for a support, and with my favorite number, 13, I have an answer. It's not just a caster, it's Kaizo going to Eclipse.
Kaizo caster, you know him as the caster, hopefully from SEC. I believe main support, an extremely aggressive support, so should pair really, really well with Remarkable Wolf. Doing something smart as a captain that I wish we would see more do throughout the different divisions and stuff, and hopefully we will this year, assuming they're all prepared, ready to go. Picking yourself a good mid lane you can pair with, a good support that you know you're going to be able to dominate lane with. We know what Remarkable Wolf is able to do. Pair it with Kaizo caster, I'm sure that's just going to grow. Team Eclipse already in a really good spot.
Popping back up the pink and green. Number 14 for Flourish, Chubby Ostrich, is on the clock and looking to round up what's already looking to be a dominant team. And who is it, you might ask? Well, I have an answer for you. It's Aztec!
There you go, another new face to the league. I believe used to play on console, compete a lot on there, so hopefully bring some veteran competition to that team for back all the way in Season 2, I believe. An aggressive player, and I think one that likes a solo lane, so we're going to see stuff like the Nike, Sun Wukong, Bellona, a lot of incredibly aggressive lane opponents. Pair that with Eba was taken in the jungle. That's not going to be an easy right side of the map to deal with. Blue buff's going to be in terror all season long.
Keep an eye on the blue buffs, certainly. Kingslayer's back on the clock, and as we talk about the blue buffs, I can't help but notice that blue is no longer an overwhelming color on the teams. I just wanted to point that out, because the team colors, the team logos, everything's just... I'm obsessed with it. I can't stop staring at it. Okay, back to business at hand. Jabber, Kingslayers. I wrote you, but you still ain't calling. I wrote you a letter to myself. Goes to Kingslayers. Welcome to Godlike Division. Letter to myself.
I mean, how's that for an intro? I was ready to hear all that. But another strong. Signed up to play support this year. To my knowledge, not a ton of playtime as support in compared to the other roles. But good mitigation and also team healing. Loves those healing picks. And in the meta, like we've had all the new items, the way the meta shifted, the damage, tank nerfs, whatever you want to call them. Healers are still in a good spot, so getting yourself a support that's going to be comfortable on those picks should be a huge, huge thing there for the Kingslayers.
It's going to be massive. I like building a team out that way and keeping things clear and smart and not just looking at the schedules and the Smite gurus, but looking at what players said and what can, again, create that synergy. The Seismic Shockwaves looking to continue the synergy train. But number 16, Savant selects Aggressing. A fun name to say, but welcome to Godlike regardless aggressing and new to the league as well.
Playing the perfect role for it too in the jungle, and we've already talked about Stylus, how they're gonna pair up with an insanely good solo laner this season, just like Eba and Aztec on Flourish. This is another not duo lane, but a pair or two that I'm gonna be looking at to absolutely run those games for the Seismic Shockwaves. Still need to support. Would love to see a Geb main on that team. That'd honestly just make my year.
It feels required, doesn't it? Ugh.
It kind of does.
We should really put some kind of rule forcing you to play your team's character in the first game of every season. Anyway.
I would love that.
Pick number 17, coming out from the Seismic Shockwaves, is Raymond. Another new name, Fisher, if I'm not mistaken.
A ton of new names. It's kind of hard to keep them straight and kind of speculate on what these teams are going to be able to do. I believe, though, Raymond, ADC and a mid laner, so a backline player that Seismic Shockwaves were kind of in need of going into this draft with their first two picks, but super strong. Play stuff like the Jingwei, the Cupid, a little more off-kilter from the meta. Be excited to see what they're going to be able to do if they get something like the Marticarus or the Ishtar into their hands. Should absolutely wreak havoc with the pressure that solo lane's going to bring to that team.
Number 18 is up next from the Kingslayers, looking to continue what feels to be a very calculated team so far, even as we get deeper and deeper into the draft. Jabber, the ADC for Kingslayers, and the captain will look to select at number 18. It's not just a guy, it's a Matt guy! Number 18 for Kingslayers.
An incredible username, and I think also signed up to play carry in this league, plays a lot of the really, really aggressive ones, like the On Her, the Oler, the high damage, high ability type players. But you already said they have Jabber on that team, won the championship as an ADC last year, so I'm going to be interested to see where they put Matt Guy and Jabber, what they figure out with those roles. Who knows, Jabber's a captain, might go to maybe more of a shot call spot where they can influence a map more. It's going to be interesting to see and keep an eye on that Kingslayer's draft, because they're going to have to draft pretty smart to round it all out in a balanced way.
That's a challenge for all these teams. Like I said, as we get deeper and deeper, the challenge becomes really diving through the pool, and your knowledge as a captain and your research begins to get tested. With number 19, Chubby Ostrich. I don't think there was much research needed here for Chubby Ostrich. They select Anime CEO.
Chemistry, always something we talk about on draft night and into the first few weeks. Already have it here. Iba was taken an Anime CEO. We're on the same team last year. Got all the way to those Immortal Championships. Came up a little bit short. I think you said it was Sandman Sam on the Sunbreakers. They're going to be hungry. They want that title. Now those two paired together with Chubby Ostrich, who they also know, it's going to be a strong squad. We talk about kind of friend teams a lot in this league, but that's one that I love to see. They're already in a really, really aggressive, strong spot going into this draft.
Remarkable Wolf and Eclipse are back up. And, I want to go back to something that we mentioned in the beginning. Number 1 pick last season overall for Godlike was the Season 1 MVP in Rat Milk. There's somebody who's missing. I just can't quite think who it is. With number 20, say it 4 times with me, the Season 2 MVP, Teddy.
I mean, I don't know if we have to go further in depth than that. Teddy. It's all you gotta say. Had a phenomenal Season 2 on the Sunbreakers. One of the biggest parts of them winning that championship. Such a huge god pool, such consistent gameplay. You already know with the rest of the team they've drafted, Remarkable Wolf gets an absolute steal at pick number 20.
For sure.
I mean, even pick that low should be, in my mind, one of, if not the top jungler in the Godlike division.
We went into this draft, and I like this to think I stay pretty non-biased. We went in, and I was expecting Teddy to go very, very quick, considering what we saw, not just in the finals, but in the playoffs as a whole for Godlike last season. Sunbreakers back on the clock. Speaking of finals, you can't talk about finals without talking about Sunbreakers. And with number 21, the Sunbreakers select CJ Lopez. Nice easy name. Thank you for that.
Probably one of the easiest we're going to pronounce all day. I don't know. I feel like Teddy might have the easiest to pronounce. Maybe I'm wrong, though. Would love to get some thoughts.
But we did
from
leave
you
out the
in the
522, to be fair.
Oh, I can't forget the numbers. The numbers
Yeah,
are always
you get
important.
numbers, it gets complicated, the calculators break.
It does. And CJ Lopez, a pretty versatile backliner, plays carry and mid both super, super well. Picks like the Thoth, Scylla, Oler, Jingwei, a lot of gods that you really wouldn't take into consideration when you're banning. So hopefully going to make them think. Would love to steal away some bans from the sides of Sandman Sam, Codester, and then of course A. Garrett. So it should be a really kind of wild card that they can slot into that lineup really well.
Let's keep talking wild cards, because at number 22, Wild Inferno select Dummy Slick. Not to be confused with Thick.
Would hate to make that mistake, but Tummy's like a very, very strong jungler, which means Wild Inferno, they're only missing the ADC right now, an important piece to any puzzle, but I'd assume that's going to be what pick 27 is. And Dummy Slick, like I said, strong, plays the picks like the Susano, Thanatos, Circuit, kind of the prototypical junglers you want your team playing, and paired up with Digits, Taka, and Lycon, gonna have a ton of space to work with, gonna be very, very easy to get good dive going with the team that's drafted around them, should have a really, really nice time the later these games go, kind of trusting that team to carry them over the hump a little bit.
You talked about no matter how late these games go, and we had quite a few barn burners in Scouting Grounds, but one sticks to the forefront of my mind. I can think of a Fenrir diving deep with pick number 23. It's Strat.
Love Strat getting back here. Very good Fenrir, like you said, and should slot very well into the rest of the Storm Colors, especially with stuff like Dragoon with Lycon. The only thing is, I think Lycon played jungle last season as well, a very versatile player. So I think kind of kind of similar to my concerns with Kingslayers. I'm going to have to wait and see how these guys are able to kind of pile around, slot players into different positions. But Strat's a strong player, should fit absolutely anywhere they can find him in the Stormcallers squad.
Dark Omen back up, and we are once again at the wrap around, as you can see, with the beautiful purple jersey on screen. And with pick number 24, Power ST2 selects for Dark Omen, Tomcat. Hit that T hard. I like that.
Yeah, all three at the T's there. Another strong pick. Remember back in past seasons, a very strong ADC, and going on to a roster like that should be with a squad that's hopefully still retained a lot of that chemistry and slotting into that left-hand side. They only need a support now, so hopefully they got back-to-back picks, could pick up another one right here, get Tomcat somebody that's really gonna help them kind of dominate that lane, because you already know the entire other half of the map with this squad is gonna be locked down.
I'm pretty sure I heard you mention a support, Fisher. Well, boy, do I have an answer for you. Let's go back to season 1. Let's talk Premiere. Let's talk Energy. Going to Dark Omen.
Love seeing Energy back in the league. Took a little hiatus last year. I think showed up as a coach at some point. So not only an incredible support, really solid gameplay, good mechanics, but you're bringing somebody with a ton of game knowledge onto that team. Energy has been around. They know what they're doing. They know how to win games, slotting that into a roster that's already stacked with some of the best picks, I think, in the league. This Dark Omen team going to be on a roll from minute one.
Energy led one of the Sunbreakers teams to victory, coaching for Divine Sunbreakers, if memories click in there. Well, let's go to Stormcallers. Let's go to pick 26. And I'm going to be honest, it feels weird to yell this name. It feels so gentle and nice. So let's go gentle. With pick number 26, the Stormcallers select Depp Mouflin. Mouflin? Depp Mouflin. Welcome to the league.
Love that that's the first name you say quietly. It deserves it. It's a very nice username. Another solo laner with some really kind of interesting picks. I talked about Stormcallers needing to fill a few holes. Detmufen 100% gonna be able to do that. Has some spicy picks too. Stuff like the Gilgamesh, Tyr, the Ratatoskr, if that's ended up being dragged into solo lane, should provide that Stormcallers draft with a ton of different ways to play. A really versatile player that can fill any hole on that roster that's still remaining.
Wild Inferno is back up, and they're looking ready. Pick 27, and I'm ready as well. With pick number 27, Wild Inferno selects Kamzi.
I believe another new name to the league, and just kind of
So
could be
many.
a new. I know, and another newer name to just competitive Smite in general, I believe. Not a ton of experience, but a strong ADC player. Plays the picks we all love to see. The Hachiman, no Dilo's loving that from somewhere off beyond. The Rama, the Amus, and Cobb. A lot of ADCs, rather, not junglers, that you just kind of want on your team. Should fit really well with the rest of that team comp. We've already talked so many times with them about their front line and how their backlines can be able to dive together. Adding another member like that should just be able to get their damage off really well. Really can't go wrong with it.
All right, Sunbreakers. We've been talking a lot about SDL, the old seasons, the homegrown. Well, I'm excited for this one. Making it up to the Godlike division with pick number 28. It's post-drama! Going to the Sunbreakers. Welcome to Godlike. Fisher, talk about the treasure trove of knowledge we have on Posty.
Absolutely love to see post-drama getting up to Godlike. First off, an incredibly good support, one with a lot of picks, and I feel like I talked about it with Energy on Dark Omen, a player that knows this game through and through. Post-drama, an incredibly strong support, and even smarter coach, shot caller, whatever you want to call it. If post-drama is calling the plays there for Sunbreakers, you already know they are going to be in a good spot.
I'm so happy for Post to be up in Godlike and test those skills. We know it's been wanted, but it's here. And let's head back to Eclipse for it, because we got to keep it rolling as much as we want to spend an eternity on beautiful baby Post. Remarkable Wolf and Eclipse are back up. Pick number 29 on the horizon. Eclipse, rounding out what is so far a disgustingly talented roster. And they're going to keep it going. This time, peeking over to the solo lane, we've got Zombie Billy Mays here.
Another strong pick. If you think the name seem familiar, was on one of our Smite game streams and played a lot of different things in that solo lane. I mean, my mind goes back to the Amaterasu, the Surtur, a lot of picks that are pretty stylistically different, and most importantly, fills the fifth hole on that lineup. Combine them with a player like Teddy as well. I think I've talked about the solo and jungle matchups a lot already this draft. That's going to be a really scary one. Looking at this Eclipse team, there's really not too many places you can fault the roster at any role, any playstyle.
Not at all. And honestly, that's even with how many names we haven't seen from the information you've been giving us, that feels like a common theme across all the teams, which feels impossible to get to, but impressive nonetheless. And Flourish is up, and Chubby Ostrich looking to continue cleaning up what is so far a, on paper, disgustingly talented team. The mechanics are off the charts. Let's talk more mechanics. Let's look at Kane, Tempest, and Fisher. Let's start with, we talked about it with Strat. Kane Tempest was also in that set that went 45 years and kind of went crazy in the ADC role.
Yeah, is, I believe, an ADC first off, either ADC or jungler. It's one of the two, but should be another strong piece to the puzzle. We talked about chemistry a lot with Dark Omen. We see the same thing with Flourish. So finding yourself a versatile player like that and a proven player, we've seen them in the league before, should be a great addition to an already good roster. Interested to see how those team comps are going to line up for Flourish, but an addition that you really can't go wrong with.
Not at all. And that has been, we keep talking about the common themes. That's been there hasn't been a single player where I've been thinking, oh, it's crazy. It's been more so the cases of me thinking, that's an awesome pick, that this captain found something that I would have probably missed, and that's why I sit behind a desk and I don't play. Anyway, back to what's important. Pick number 31. Jabber selects for the Kingslayers, Bonkar.
Already a fun username to say. Bonkar, I believe, is a mid laner as well, so interesting to see how they're gonna utilize them alongside Emoji Daddy, who's had a very, very strong run in this league already in that mid lane. I don't know if they had any off roles selected, so it'll be interesting to see how that Kingslayers draft kind of shakes out. Could almost be like a situation we had back in Challenger, I believe, a year ago, where a team would just rotate players in and out every game, every set. So adding another strong player like that should really allow this team to do a lot of things that not many others in the league are going to be prepared for or going to be able to adapt to in time.
Seismic Shockwaves are now up, and they've got 32 and 33, but we start, of course, with 32. And Savant selects, coming all the way from EU, it's Archie Baker.
Love seeing our EU players get some love in the draft. Gonna go on to the Seismic Shockwaves as well. And I believe one of the only people in this league, hopefully, that plays Arachne. Has an insanely strong Arachne jungle.
You didn't have to drop
sorry,
that,
Archie.
hopefully. That was too much flavor.
I had to. I mean, I'm personally not an Arachne fan, but could be an incredibly strong jungler if played correctly, and having somebody that knows how to utilize that kit, and just characters like that in general, that you kind of don't really think about in the picks and ban phase, should be a strong addition to that Shockwaves roster.
And they get one more with it as we head into the final round of picks. Number 33 from the Seismic Shockwaves is on the clock. And Fisher, before we get this last one locked in, give me a short version. What are you looking forward to round out the drafts from these teams?
So I think in my mind, there's a term that I use, kind of utility players. Players that can play a lot of roles. Players that can play anywhere. By this point in the draft, most, if not all, these teams should have all 5 of their starter roles filled out, but you have people that can play everywhere. Now you need a player that's going to be reliable, can fit anywhere on that map that you need it. So the more of those players these teams can get, the happier I'd be, just kind of being confident in that team to come out and perform week after week after week, because not all players are available for every game.
Yeah, I always harken back to Season 1 Harbingers and how they utilized their sub for strategy and how that's always on the table, and people tend to forget that. Number 33 for the Seismic Shockwaves, starting us off at the final round, is Typical Java.
Already seeing a role that fits in there, plays all the backline roles, the jungle, the mid, the carry. Pretty much what you want to see. I believe they do prefer the mid lane. Some solid picks like the or sorry, excuse me, the Giannis, Baba Yaga E set. So a lot of big damage picks that should fit into this team really well. And being able to play at least 3 roles, they should see playtime. They're a strong player. And even on the best rosters, there's going to be a game or two where the subs get in and they perform lights out. Definitely looking for that over there from typical Java.
It's like you said, the utility needing to focus on cleaning up either something that you maybe aren't feeling that is fully rounded out, or hey, even having, if you looked at schedules, having somebody who can fill in the blanks of somebody's schedule could also be a huge positive. Kingslayers back on the clock with their final pick. Number 34 is up next. And the Kingslayers select Crit of Time.
Another utility player. Like I said, absolutely.
You called that.
Feeling so good right now that all the teams are going this way, and should be a strong player slotting in there as well. Plays jungle, mid, and solo lane, I believe. They don't need another mid player. They do have Bonkar and Emoji Daddy, both extremely capable players. But having another one, they can fill into the jungle, fill into the solo that right side of the map. Never gonna hate on somebody that can do that. They're two really challenging roles to play, and someone that can play both of them gonna be an asset to absolutely any team out there.
These captains have been very strategic so far. You know, last season we talked a lot about drafting 5 solos and so on and so forth. And at least for GODLIKE so far, I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing. And these are hyper competitive teams, and we're not even done yet. Number 35, Flourish is up. And let's keep it rolling. Let's bring back the OGs. At 35, it's the Swift Fish.
A fellow fish, but all I can think about is the one game where I had to play against him, and it was the worst set of my life. and insanely strong mid laner, plays so many picks. I feel like I've said this a lot this draft, but picks you don't think about banning. Stuff like the Raijun, the Tiamat, who's been an extremely quiet pick these last few months. Swift Fish plays them all, and they play them extremely well. Going to be a massive benefit to this team, having somebody with that god pool, and I believe also does play a pretty big variety of roles. Mid is preferred, but another one of those players that they can use any day, anytime, and they're not going to suffer for it.
Don't miss out on this jersey because my big ass head is going to be blocking the next pick. Number 36 coming out from Eclipse. Yes, Fisher, I said a bad word. Is Jord Easy.
You know, thank you for admitting it. we see another one of those players that plays all 3 roles. They play mid, they play jungle, they play carry. It's what you love to see. And one thing I don't think we've talked about that we saw with Swift, the ability to play like jungle and all that stuff if they need to. A lot of these players that play a lot of roles don't play solo, don't play support. So on a team like this where we've already seen really competent players in both roles and flexible players as well with Zombie Billy Mays, having another player like that, they can rotate in when they need to, where they need to. I feel like a broken record, but for all these teams, it's just going to benefit them more than I think getting another specialized player would.
Man, Fisher, I'm in love with these teams. The talent, it's so good. All right. We got to keep it rolling. I can't stay starstruck for too long. Sunbreakers with their final pick. And we have talked about consistently that Sunbreakers looks to be a threat. Swept all 3 divisions. Who will round out the team? At 37, it is Kill Cam Kenny. That's a fun one to say.
If Kenny isn't the kill leader for at least one of those games, I want a refund. It's in the name. You gotta get kills. And this is a player that absolutely can. I believe, said it a lot, another one of those versatility players. Sign up for the mid lane, but plays a lot of Guardians and plays a lot of Guardians really well. I've already talked about post-dramas. Smite IQ, it's a piece they can utilize anywhere on the map. So having a player like that can do a couple roles, do them all very well, should be strong, and not a ton of 6 people you see that can really play support pretty well. So it's going to give Sunbreakers a lot of options on how they want to structure their team.
There is options there, and with the mindset of Sunbreakers, I expect that'll work into the strategy, and it'll be less about who's getting starts when and more about who contributes what, and the end goal will be very much like we saw with Immortal Oathkeepers or Divine Sunbreakers, and it'll just be we get ourselves to the finals as a team. And that's the best mindset that you can have. Wild Inferno looking to round out their godlike team. At number 38, select Jay Swervy.
Another solid name adding to the roster. Plays a lot of jungle and mid, I believe. So Having that on a team with already some good players, we've talked about it so many times, the front line of Taka in Digits, getting another player in there that can kind of fill the roles around him. As much as we talk about loving to see the 6-person in these squads gets in, team comps moving around, those are 2 frontliners that you do not want missing any games, so getting another backliner that can play well with them, you know they're going to be consistent. It's a good move for Wild Inferno, not trying to go after someone that could really take time away from, in my mind, 2 of the best frontliners in this league.
Yeah, man, Jersey's so good. Sorry. It's that's one of the more well put together teams. I mean, they're all really good, but I mean, anytime, and I felt this way in round 3 when Teddy went to Eclipse. Anytime you can get players of that caliber that late in a draft, it speaks to both the captain's research and to the quality of the draft pool. And I think both things have rung true here. Number 39 from the Stormcallers. Only 2 picks remain, and oh boy, all the immortal captains just had their draft boards busted wide open because Red Buff Bandits going to Godlike.
Had an impressive game on the channel. Not surprised at all to see them picked up this high. Red Buff Bandit. Well, first off, I mean, prefers mid. You wouldn't get that from the name, though. And if you can guess what other roles they play, of course, it's the jungle, it's a carry, another good player, and another versatile player going into that Stormcallers draft. They put together an insanely strong team. Would love to see if they're going to be able to hold it together. A lot of players there. They can do a few roles and do them really, really well. Going to be interesting to see where they kind of choose to send everybody.
Oh boy, we have the last pick on the horizon. Before we get there, I want to give a couple quick notes to everybody watching. Make sure to subscribe to the Smite Draft League YouTube, all the fun stuff. That's where the games are going to be alongside Twitch. We'll be using both, but we're trying to get those YouTube numbers up. So get in there and subscribe. As you guys know, we post to everything, and we love pushing out the content. And also, keep your eyes out for these jerseys, because after all the drafts are completed, there's gonna be some jerseys for the taking. I've got my eyes. I mean, I'm a Sunbreakers fanboy, but like Stormcallers goes kind of stupid, so I might have to just break the bank for both. And finally, for the Immortal draft and for the Divine draft, Saturday and Sunday respectively. Keep that in your heads. Again, Immortal Saturday, Divine on Sunday. We'll get to see the drafts once again live right here on Smite Draft League. One more pick, and it's number 40 for Dark Omen. And Kingfisher, we're done with Godlike because Desto is going to Dark Omen.
Gonna use a football term here, but Mr. Irrelevant will be able to see what Desto's able to do. Don't count out the last pick. If you remember, another captain in this round, what was it? Pick number 40 in Immortal last year, went on to be one of the biggest stars in Remarkable Wolf. That's any telling for this league. Would love to see Desto do great things. Paired up on a great team to do with him with. Another, I believe, primarily jungler, plays a little bit of mid. So don't know how much playing time they're going to take away from Swagga, but a strong player and a confident player that's going to slot into that roster really, really well.
And with that, you've got your Godlike division for the Smite Draft League. I'm having a tough time looking through, Fisher. I mean, we're gonna have the caster the caster predictions come out in the next couple of days for everybody to judge us for. But I'm having a tough time. I mean, when you look at these teams, let's skip ahead to R2. What 2 stick out to you?
You know, you're gonna have to give me a minute on that. I need to think. I was not prepared for that.
You weren't prepared for the test. I'll give mine and buy you time. Again, I think all these teams are great. In like teams like Eclipse and Stormcallers. I mean, every team sticks out to me. I'm looking for the mechanics to push through from Flourish, and for the map play to become clean. If those 2 things happen, Flourish could be a dominant team. The potential's certainly there, but I think my biggest one, my powerhouse, my team to watch now for 3 seasons, Power just keeps picking Dark Omen, and I keep loving Power's team comps. Dark Omen is mine to just stare at and watch the entire season.
I'm going to have to echo your thoughts a little bit. I think Dark Omen put together a great draft, and the fact that 3 of them have already played together and gotten very, very far into the playoffs, barely beaten out, I mean, it's a good roster. There's no way of getting around that. They made some really good additions this season as well. So that has to be one of my 2, but if we look at another, I don't know. There's so many I'm torn between. I'm gonna go with the Shockwaves just because they have the new team name, and I think that's gonna really give them a lot of momentum, carry them through. But so many teams you could say that about. Flourish looks strong, Eclipse looks insanely strong, Wild Inferno as well. I mean, every single one of these teams, I don't think I'd be shocked at all if they made a deep playoff run.
Same, and I'm looking at a lot of those Immortal players who've jumped up to Godlike. I'm looking at the ZBMs, at the Remarkable Wolves, of course. I'm looking at the Post Dramas. I'm looking at everybody who's made those jumps to be huge. But with that, probably the quickest we've ever had, but that brings us to the end of our Godlike draft. Once again, Immortal tomorrow with Dilo, Phoenix, and the Divine Ape. And on Sunday, you'll be greeted for Divine with Gear Chief, Zetan, and Akamaru. I know everyone's excited for that. I'm Anthony Malum. I've been joined by Kingfisher, and Nublet is taking us through this beautiful production, including working on those jerseys, which again, keep your eyes out after all the drafts are done. Make sure to go to the Smite Draft League YouTube, and thank you for all the subscriptions tonight and the follows tonight. Keep your eyes on the Smite Draft League Twitch, because that's where these drafts will be. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. We'll let you look at the drafts a little bit before we head out.